Welcome, everybody, to Why Are You an Entrepreneur? Our weekly Thursday series. We are back in full force for 2023. And it's always been my commitment to bring you rock star entrepreneurs for rock star conversations. I'm Maureen Edwards with 8 Simple Steps. And for those of you just tuning in for the first time, or maybe you're watching the replay, I put this together solely to bring you people who are walking the entrepreneurial journey just like you, and to really give you the opportunity to pick up some words of wisdom, some inspiration, opportunities to understand that you're not alone in this journey, and that there are resources out there and best practices and people who are ready to help you. So, my rock star this week, oh my gosh. So I have the founder and CEO of Kim Kiel Copy. So welcome, Kim.
Hey, Maureen. Thanks so much for having me.
I am thrilled to have you. So I always start out with the first question. The series is called Why Are You an Entrepreneur? And so tell me how you got here and why you're even doing this.
That's a good question. And I know we all have our own journeys and our own path, and they're all very zigzaggy. The short story is that I was a mom with 2 little kids, and I was working in a nonprofit day job. I was working part-time hours, but it felt like full-time hours because I had to commute to and from the place of work. And I was doing that childcare shuffle. And any moms who might be watching this will know exactly what I mean, because I was late to drop my kid off at daycare. I was late to get to work. I was late to pick him up from day home. I was late to the school. I was late for everything. And I didn't feel like I was winning at any area of my life. And, we do our best to provide the best care for our kids and bring in some income for the family. But at some point you have to say, is this actually working for our family? And I had got to the point where my kid was just starting kindergarten. And where I live, it's only a half-day program. So I had gone through all these permutations and combinations to find a day home who would be able to help get him to school and get him home from school on that half day. And I'd lined it up and everything was beautiful. And then I dropped him off one morning and she said, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to be away for all of September and October." And it was like my whole world came crashing down. And it was like the sign on the highway that had always been flashing, but I wasn't paying attention to it. It was like, you need to merge off of this highway. Like, there's something better for you on this other path. And I cried all the way to work that day, sat down with my husband, and he was like, "Okay, this little thing you've been talking about, going out on your own and being self-employed, maybe it's time to actually pull the trigger." And I had seen other people working as copywriters and making some pretty decent money. And I knew I had the skills and the passion and the tenacity to do it. And so I started the steps to become self-employed. And actually, I kind of went into that my employer and I quit on the spot, and they didn't want me to leave. And they became my first client. So I was able to sort of really scale back my work, but they, in fact, were my first client. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
I love this because I know how many people are in your exact position. And I have heard many times that people will take the side hustle route. Yep. And I always say to people, I need to come up with a different name for that, because it isn't just for people to get an extra vacation. They're actually trying to plan, an exit strategy. But you just quit. And that takes a lot of guts to just go, all right, I don't even have my first client. I'm just leaving.
Yeah. And I mean, the fortunate thing that I had was my spouse had a reliable day job and it was very stable. And so he said, even if we have to go into debt for a little while, let's at least try it out, because we were in debt. I was in debt emotionally, mentally I was in debt, and physically from all the rushing around. So in the end, it was honestly the best decision I've ever made.
Oh my gosh, I
Mhm.
love it. So, what is different between you working for someone else and you working for yourself?
Great question. I'm surprised by how little is different. And I think that's because of the type of person that I am. And as I was reflecting on the kind of conversation we might have today, Maureen, I was realizing that even when I was an employee, I was kind of an entrepreneur. So I would
Mm.
always be thinking of like a new event we could create, a new strategy we could try, a new tactic we could embody, or a new program we could launch. So I was very entrepreneurial within those jobs. So I think I always had that kind of creativity and innovation. But when you're on your own, um, you are creating your own work. You are responsible to yourself. You're now responsible to your clients. You're responsible to the accountant because you need to like fill out your taxes and just stay on top of all that. But I actually really quite like being accountable to myself. I like being my own boss. And I think when you are a mom, you have constraints and you learn very well how to like operate within those constraints, and it forced me to sort of show up as my best self, get my work done, find and make this business work for me.
What did you find to be the hardest starting out with a company?
The hardest thing is there's a couple things. One is you are endlessly researching and taking webinars and buying courses and trying to like prove that you can do this, and to like almost trying to like buy your way into having confidence and belief in yourself that you can actually what you're talking about, and you can actually do this work and be confident in it. So it's that sort of constant research and fact finding. For me, that's what I did. I was like, oh, I need this other course and I need this other course. So I probably didn't grow as quickly as I could have.
Hmm.
The other aspect is the mindset, which is tied to it. It's just like you have to be able to have a growth mindset. And if and when something crappy happens, you are able to find that new path around that obstacle or look at it from a positive perspective. And it's not always easy. And I have actually hired lots of different coaches and invested in different programs to help me, especially with that mindset piece.
Absolutely. And I highly recommend people do that. You just will have a faster uptake in your business than if you're spinning around trying to do every webinar
Mhm.
and googling your way and YouTubing your way. And it's like we all seem to start that way and we're like, "Oh, I can't afford it," or it's my baby, I'm going to do it all. Nobody can do it better than me." And what we have to realize is you're actually going to get there faster if you get somebody to walk the journey with you. And I say that to people every single time we're on here.
Mhm.
So, what's one thing that kind of was crappy? Because I'm hearing you're like, well, some things kind of go down. Is there any one obstacle that you had in building this company that stands out, and how did you overcome it?
I think zeroing in on who my ideal client is and the kind of projects that I want to work on. So, in the beginning, I knew I wanted to be a copywriter. I knew I wanted to specialize in sales copy, which is the kind of copy that helps you sell yourself on your website and emails and sales pages and ads. But I was less sure about what kind of client I wanted to work with. So, in the beginning, and I don't think this is bad advice at all, I kind of took on a lot of different projects because that's how you figure out who you want to work with and the kind of clients that you want to work with. So, in that process, I took on projects that were not a good fit for me. I took on projects with clients that I didn't enjoy working with necessarily, and figuring out how to sort of like head down, get this done, and then bless and release. I did that a few times. Other times I actually had to put my big girl panties on and say, this isn't working. I'm going to refund you your money and we can just part ways. I think we're complete here. So that kind of finding clients, making sure you're working with the right fit clients. But Maureen, you probably can relate. Like, it still continues. Just last week, I had a client who had signed a contract with me in December, decide and realize over the holidays that the arrangement we had made wasn't going to work. And so she needed to back out of our contract. But in the meantime, I have already declined work to hold space for her in my calendar. So I had a moment of, grumpiness, but I also, because I've been doing the mindset work, I also appreciated this is the best decision for her. And I know it's going to be a really good decision for me. And so once I got over the initial sting of rejection, I was able to look at it and be like, okay, something else better is coming along. And it is. So that never ends. Those kinds of challenges never ends. It's just how quickly you pivot, how quickly you make decisions, and how quickly you recover. I think that's a little bit faster for me now.
So I think it comes right back down to mindset and being tenacious and saying, you know what, you were not the person I wanted to work with. It probably wasn't going to be a great relationship anyway, because you kind of see how that was going. Nice that you knew ahead of time before you dove into it. But it's really just pick yourself back up and keep moving forward. I have to tell you, I think a lot of people struggle with finding the right clientele. I think we take everybody we can because we want to bring in income.
Yep.
And then we get frustrated and we're like, these people are not who I want. And I think that's a really important growth opportunity. And I have to say, Vincent has joined us from Zambia. And he says, how did you create your clientele base? And Vincent, if you missed the first part, she started with her employer, she left. But then that's my question. How are you continuously finding clients? Who was the next client for you?
So something I've been reflecting a lot lately is I started my business when I was in my mid-40s. I had, 2 decades, a decade and a half of a career under my belt. And that meant I also had a decade and a half of relationships and a network built, and a reputation and skills that I could rely on. So I think when I set out on my own, I was able to tell people that I was now self-employed. And if anyone who wanted a copywriter or help with marketing or help with writing sales copy, that they should reach out to me. And that inner circle, that network really came through for me. One of the very first projects I got was a referral from a friend who knew I was copywriter. She wasn't able to take the project, so she passed it on to me. And it was a massive project, and I was able to close that sale. And then from there, it became a lot of referrals, a lot of repeat business. But I also joined different communities. So I joined different coaching programs that would have lots of entrepreneurs in there. And just by building relationships with them inside that community, they got to know me. And because it was an entrepreneurial community, they're all expanding and elevating their businesses and their brands. And guess what? They need new messaging. They need new copy. They're launching new offers. So because they know me, we would hop on sales calls, and I was able to find clients that way.
Okay, so here's the big word I'm hearing. Okay, it isn't just necessarily networking. It's actually getting out and selling yourself. And I think people have a hard time with that sales word. Don't you find it? You are in charge of your destiny. You're in charge of your income. If you don't get the message out there and promote yourself, feel confident about it, nobody's going to do it. And so people seem so reluctant to go out and sell themselves. And I think they think it's a dirty word. Like, sales is not the job people want. They're like begging for salespeople out there.
Yeah.
I know that that's hard, but the way I kind of look at sales, and that's how I started my career, was in sales, and I loved every minute of it. But think about how talented you are. Think about all small business owners out there, how talented you are. You went in this because you feel like you can serve clients with your expertise. So look at it as not just you trying to get your business up and running, but you're actually there to serve people to help get their business up and running, or providing a product that could make their life easier. You need to get the message out, not just for yourself, but for them. Obviously, people needed you, Kim, and if they didn't know about you, they're certainly going to pick somebody else, but you have to sell your value prop. You have to sell it. Nobody else can do it for you.
100%. 100%. And as a copywriter, a lot of the work that I do is actually coaching people through their own hesitation about selling. They'll come and say, well, I can't write sales copy. I don't want to come across as salesy. And a lot of the conversations we have is, it's not sale. Like, don't think of it as sales. Think of it as an invitation. Think of it as a relationship. Think of it as a journey. Like, you're taking each next step in this relationship, and it's an exchange of value. And you hit it on the head about, you have value, you can provide service, you can stop a pain or create some change for somebody. And why is making yourself available for that, or letting them know that you can help them, why is that a bad thing? It's not. It's a good thing.
Do you think, though, it's because people are afraid of rejection?
Oh, I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. I think also, depending on what kind of community you identify with, whether you're with a marginalized community, or like a woman may feel less confident selling because we've been socialized to be a little bit more subservient, or, just not have the confidence that other people might have. So there's a lot of things that you need to work through in business. Fear is definitely one of them, but you know how you get over fears, you just have to kind of go for it, and then you get over it.
I always say fear is temporary, but regret is forever.
Yeah.
And fear comes and goes, just like you're saying. And so, Vincent, I hope that, Kim just gave you some good information here. Reach out to your network who you already have a relationship with. That's kind of the low-hanging fruit, I think, because they already know you. They like you. The trust is there. Yeah. So that's the first thing. And then get in front of them and sell your value, and how you're going to make their life wonderful, and how you're going to change and make a difference. That's the whole thing. It's not creepy marketing. No. We don't want any of that slimy sales stuff. And you want to change that. So hopefully that helps you, Vincent. So you get a lot of referrals, lots of networking, getting yourself out there. Is there a certain social media platform that you have used that you've been successful with?
I have been social media agnostic. I have dabbled on Facebook. I've dabbled on Instagram. I've dabbled on LinkedIn. I am a lurker on TikTok. Right now I'm watching people who eat butter on bread or caviar. Like that's what I'm getting from TikTok. Anyway, I am finding some of the best engagement right now is coming from Instagram, and I've sort of compared. I post something on LinkedIn and see how it goes, and then I post the same thing on Instagram, and I'm kind of getting a better result there, which is really surprising to me.
Yes,
I actually thought Instagram or LinkedIn would be more my people, and it might just be that I haven't played the game long enough or intentionally enough on LinkedIn. I think it holds a lot of promise. So I'm not giving up on it, but I would say Instagram is probably where I'm seeing the most relationships built. For me personally, I'm always on Facebook, connecting with like my friends and my family and like the greater networks, but it's really more personal as opposed to professional. Yet I know that one helps the other for sure. But I'm actually having a lot of fun podcasting. I've created a podcast, and it has been so fun to try to experiment with this new format. And because I write all day, I love that it's not writing. So some people are really great at blog writing or LinkedIn article writing, but I love that it's actually using my voice. And I'm so passionate about elevating women's voices that I just love it as a platform.
Awesome. I love that. So what's the name of your podcast?
It's called the Ill Communication Podcast,
Hmm.
and it gives you business tips, sales strategies, and copywriting prompts and formulas to help you grow your business. It's named after my very favorite band in the whole wide world, the Beastie Boys. They have an album called Ill Communication, but when you listen to it, it's very short form. You get like one tip, one strategy, one prompt in about 5 to 10 minutes that you can take that day and go away and implement. And it's a lot of fun for me to create, and people are really enjoying what they're getting out of it as well.
I love it. And I've had so many people say, like, this is kind of my jam. I absolutely love LinkedIn. It's my number one platform. I highly recommend, if you don't have a company page, in order to get more traction, get that company page and
I
get
will do
yourself
that.
out there. But everybody's like, turn this into a podcast. You can just hit audio and you can go and do it. But the podcast thing, I have just heard amazing things, but I sometimes think it's easier said than done, right? And when you are stretched with so many areas, you can only take on so much. And that's kind of my entrepreneurial tip today is
100%.
keep it simple. And if something's working for you, maximize it. And for me, dabbling in another avenue, I just don't think I'm ready for it.
I totally hear you. And that is actually how I've grown my business all along, is really lean, really like I am low tech. I have no funnels. Like, I mean, I have a lead magnet. People can download it. They get on my email list, but I don't have really complicated structure at all. It's just very, very simple because that's how I am more wired. For me to actually create the podcast though, Maureen, I have hired a wonderful podcast manager. So all I do is I record and then I send the files over to her and her team. And then suddenly it's on all the platforms and I have social media graphics. So I'm not afraid to outsource some of those areas, and I'm grateful that I have the ability to do it. Although my money coach is like, when are we going to start singing ROI on all that investment? So I know I'm going to have.
Well, sometimes you got to put a little bit out first before you start to reap the benefits. And podcasting can take a little bit of time to get the traction. But what I love is that you identified what your strengths are, right? And you've said, you know what, I can get faster results if I hire an expert in this particular thing. And that's why we have so many different businesses that are out there to help other businesses. So, I say to people out there, reach out to people who know more than you do in a specific thing, and you just go ahead and nail what you do. You just be amazing at it. And that's how you grow a business.
It is.
It really is. So tell me what is in store for Kim Kiel Copy. Like, is there a certain scale strategy or a scale goal that you have maybe this year or in the future?
I'm going to be trying a few things this year. I am going to be going through my first sort of official affiliate launch. I'm an affiliate for another business program that is going to be launching very soon. So that's a whole new world for me to participate in that. And I'm approaching it in the same way that I've built my business, which is like, I'm going to kind of do this low key and my way. I'm not going to exhaust I'm probably going to get exhausted. Like, let's be real, but I'm not going to try to do all the things that they recommend when you're launching. So I'm just kind of going to experiment and play with it. If anyone steps into that program and I get a small commission, great, but it's more just for the experience of going through that. I am hoping to grow my podcast listenership more and use that as the way to funnel people into work with me, whether it's in my group coaching program or doing one-on-one copywriting services. And I think the other goal I have is to actually speak on some stages. So I'd love to speak at a conference, or I love speaking in people's coaching communities, doing workshops, but to do something on a larger stage, I think that's going to be a big goal. So for me, it's more about getting out there, being visible, and being of service in that way, and then how that can be the funnel to bring people closer to me as well.
So how many years have you been doing this now? How old is your business?
It's 5 years old. It's a toddler.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Well,
just getting ready for kindergarten.
I
Yeah.
know. Well, the first year of business is the hardest. We
Yeah.
lose about 20% of all new businesses, and then it's 30% at the second year. And by the 5 year mark, it's 50%. So the odds for entrepreneurship is not good, which is why we say seek help.
Oh.
And you're at that 5 year mark, and I'm
Mhm.
celebrating with you right now because you
Mm.
are going strong and you have a plan for this year. Which I'm really happy you have a lot of personal goals that will help you professionally. It seems like you're focusing on you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, would I love to have a monthly massage and a spa date? Absolutely.
You will be.
Yeah.
So if you could give one piece of advice, I mean, you've given a ton right now, but for a brand new entrepreneur who is just left a corporate job, maybe putting their shingle out, they've got a product they want to launch, what is like one thing that you would tell them to do?
I want to tell them two things, and that's kind of the way I roll. I like to break rules a little bit.
That's okay.
One thing is to learn how to trust yourself and your intuition, and trust that you, amongst all the noise, amongst all the information that you're getting, you can make the best decision for you and your business, and to really tap into that. And especially in the field of marketing, like if you get a hit, oh, this would make a good email. So often we kind of like overthink and talk ourselves out of that, but you should trust that. If something has come to you and it's inspiring to you, you should write it and send it, because that idea came to you for a reason. So I think trusting your intuition and tapping into it is really key. The second thing is to hire or work with people to help you. So whether someone chooses to work with Maureen and get the kind of business coaching that you need so that your business is elevated, and you shorten that lead time and you can become one of those businesses who's still successful at 5 years, then I think some of those investments have been the best thing I've done for myself and my business.
So tell me who you serve. Who would be your ideal client out there? Not the one in December that canceled.
You know what? I have a lot of love for that client. She is a past client, and it truly was the best decision all around. But I'm kind of pivoting my ideal client a little bit. I'm going all in on Gen X women business owners. We are an underserved, undermarketed to community, and I think we have a ton of potential in the marketplace. So I really want to amplify Gen X women's voices. I want to help Gen X women entrepreneurs to get their voices out there, to be heard, and to be of service. And to just shift the balance of power a little bit to more women, to marginalized communities, and to the people who are really working to make our world a better place. It sounds so cheesy, but like honestly, that's really why I'm here.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Mhm.
I ask a lot of times, there are a lot of copywriters out there.
Yeah.
What makes you different? What is your biggest competitive differentiator? We're going to use big words tonight.
My competitive differentiator is that I'm an expert in voice. So a lot of business owners struggle with finding a copywriter or a member of their team who can like really write in their voice. Whereas when someone brings me on, I can hear your voice, and I have a process that I go through to break down your voice so I can write and sound exactly like you. So that's one differentiator. The other one is I am an expert in sales copy. So I balance that personality with persuasion to create an on-brand, elegant sales message, and that's my differentiator.
And I love, for everybody out there who just heard what Kim said, she knows who she is, she knows the value, and she is able to communicate and message it beautifully, Kim. And I want people to realize that you have to have a strong value prop. You have to have a strong competitive differentiator, but you've got to be able to beautifully message it the way you just did, or else it's going to be a little bit tricky. So thanks for being a great communicator with that.
Thank you.
How do people get a hold of you, Kim, if they would like to work with you?
So you can find me on most of those social channels we talked about. Typically, it's Kim Kiel Copy or some variation of that. You can grab a free magnetic copy checklist where you can get some little tips to help you improve your copy. You can get that at my website, which is kimkiel.com/magnetic. And you can find me on my podcast, which is actually a really easy way to learn from me. And you can find that on my website as well, kimkiel.com/podcast.
For all my small business owners who are watching this now and will be later, as well as on the replay, please reach out to Kim. I think that after you've heard her speak, I think that she'll be able to capture the way you speak as well. So I want to thank you tonight, Kim, for, again, being my rock star. You definitely are. 5 years in business. You are an inspiration for others, and you have something to help them with out there. And so I want to say thank you for being my guest tonight.
Thank you, Marina. I appreciate you a lot.
So next week, we will be back again, another rock star entrepreneur. I'm always looking for rock stars out there. So if you'd like to be a guest on my live series that is on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube, please reach out to me. You can direct message me on all of those platforms. I would love to hear your story, and I think others would like to hear it too. This is all about words of wisdom and taking the hard out of entrepreneurship, because it doesn't need to be hard if you follow the right processes and you partner with the right people. And I always say you don't need to know everything out there. You just need to know what works. So find yourself a community, find people you trust, and keep your ears open for what they have to say. So I'll see everybody next week. If you need to get a hold of me, go ahead and direct message me, or you can go to 8simplesteps.net and learn more. Kim, I know I'm going to have you back because you have a lot of stuff to say. Good night, everybody.